All right. You ready? Ready? All right. I want to begin by thanking our media partners who are here today to carry this message far and wide. And I also want to thank my supervisor colleagues that are here with me on stage as well. Today we took up an item that deals with illegal dumping and created some new chapters in our ordinance as it relates to it. And the whole goal is to try to provide more teeth for law enforcement as we deal with illegal dumping here in Fresno County. Every district has experienced illegal dumping in the county of Fresno, especially the more rural parts of the county. And so a need for something like this has been present for several years. The county of Fresno has seen an increase in this illegal dumping since the pandemic. And I know last year, I think we spent over $1 million just dealing with different dump sites throughout the county. We've cleaned approximately 1,200 sites during the fiscal 23-24 year, and a lot of that debris is ending up in the right-of-way. This, of course, not only is unsightly to the public, but also creates hazards. Again, in the more rural parts of Fresno County, as you have vehicles traveling roadways, especially at night, where there might be a refrigerator or a couch in the road, that, of course, can cause an accident and sometimes an unfortunate death. And so it's important for us to deal with this issue. The cost to clean up throughout the county far exceeds what revenues that we have available. And I want to remind the public right now that really, if you take a lot of this debris to the landfill, our tipping fees at the landfill are pretty reasonable. Right around $30, you can dispose of about 2,000 pounds, 1 ton of waste. But if you dump materials on the side of the road, the crews that we have to dispatch, and sometimes we're dealing with hazardous materials, can sometimes amount to thousands of dollars. And so I really want to encourage the public to take their materials to the landfill or transfer stations that exist throughout Fresno County. There is not enough money to deal with this problem. And so we have passed 2 ordinances today that increase fines for individuals that are illegally dumping, and even in some cases will have the ability to seize vehicles and or trailers and impound those vehicles for up to 30 days. This will be very costly to individuals who own those vehicles and trailers. District 5 has been working with the Fresno Sheriff's Office, the district attorney, and also the county council's office to come up with the ordinance that we passed today, and also to increase these penalties and fines. So I really appreciate having an opportunity to work with all the different departments. I want to remind the public too that if you're looking for areas that where you can take your debris or batteries or other materials that you're just trying to find out what where you can take those items yourself, you can go to www.cleanupfresnocounty.com. At this time, I'd like to introduce Sergeant John Wages, who's going to talk a little bit more about this problem that we're experiencing here in Fresno County.
Good afternoon. So the Sheriff's Office is obviously dedicated to this problem. It's a community problem. Clearly, the Board of Supervisors in the County of Fresno is dedicated to this problem. So we appreciate any resources that we're given as the enforcement arm to address it. Obviously, we plan to use the amended county ordinance as a deterrent, but also as a means of accountability. We do absolutely intend to enforce it, to make arrests, and where applicable, we intend to tow vehicles and trailers and impound them for a period of 30 days. We appreciate the fact that fines are being increased, and we expect it to sting. We absolutely call upon our community to show some self-control and do things properly, do it right. There are landfills where they can take their refuse to be thrown away and do it properly. So we ask our community members to please do that for us. The Ag Crimes Unit, who I represent, obviously we represent our growers in a big way, and they are largely impacted by a lot of this illegal dumping. So some of the things, I guess the big question for us typically is, what are you doing about it? We are deploying resources at all hours. Our Ag Crimes Unit is only 5 detectives, but we do deploy them into late evening hours to conduct covert surveillance. In darkness, we've had other county departments supply us materials like night vision goggles, which allow us to watch in hours of darkness, people coming and going from our problem sites. We're also deploying a variety of different cameras. The CAO's office has recently funded the purchase of some license plate reading cameras along with the Orange Cove Police Protection District. we are deploying those license plate reading cameras in our problem areas as well.
Thank you. And I now would like to introduce the Chief Deputy District Attorney, Manuel Jimenez, who's going to talk a little bit about what this ordinance means and what the District Attorney's Office is prepared to do.
On behalf of Lisa Smetcamp, I'd like to thank Supervisor Magsig and the Board of Supervisors for passing these two ordinances. These ordinances represent new tools that the county can use to combat the problem of illegal dumping that happens in Fresno County on a daily basis. At the instrument of the crime, oftentimes, which is the vehicle, now can be towed under certain circumstances. The ordinance and the law under the state law is if you have an illegal conviction for illegal dumping of a commercial quantity in the last 3 years, that at that point, the vehicle or the instrument of the crime can be towed and impounded by a law enforcement agency. The second ordinance, which is creates a misdemeanor under a county ordinance. There is a misdemeanor for illegal commercial dumping already in the penal code, but this misdemeanor under the county ordinance will allow county council to become more involved in that issue. It raises crimes for illegal dumping at the county level from an infraction, and under certain circumstances, they're misdemeanors now, and their fines can go all the way up to $3,000 per violation under the new county ordinance. The DA's office will continue to work with all agencies to support both in prosecuting the cases that we receive in court once we reviewed them for filing, and making sure that those individuals that decide to not use the landfills, not use the environmental compliance centers for hazardous waste, and not use proper recycling, that choose to dump it onto businesses, onto properties around the county, we will hold them accountable and work with law enforcement in all levels. I wanted to really thank the process that this played out. This is a multi-pronged approach from a number of the county organizations. Supervisor Magsig and the CAO's office and the members of the CAO's office held meetings with Sheriff Zanoni, representatives of the Sheriff's Department, Dan Cedarberg, and representatives from his office, and also myself and representatives from my office. The meetings were productive. The brainstorming was important in order to lay the foundation for these ordinances. And I'm hopeful that this will go a long way to helping to reduce the level of illegal dumping and encourage those, deter people that want to do it, and make it more expensive, and make them understand that crime doesn't pay. It'll be more expensive if you end up trying to illegal dump in Fresno County. Thanks.
Thank you. And I would like to call up Supervisor Steve Brandow, who has a few comments that he'd like to make as well, and then we will move into Q&A.
All right, thank you, Supervisor. I'd first like to thank you, Chairman Magsig, for bringing this before us today, working with County Council, and also the DA's office and the Sheriff's Department to bring forth this great new policy and these ordinances, for creating them and passing them today unanimously to help fight illegal dumping. And Supervisor Mendez, this problem's gone back for several years, but it feels good
As long as I've been in office, 10 years.
Yeah, it feels good to get something done about it.
Yeah, what the hell took so long?
Continuing with the theme of adding teeth to fighting crime, the chairman asked me today to mention that we also passed unanimously today a resolution in support for the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act. And that is the fancy name given to the Prop 47 corrections that we're supporting. This is the campaign, and we wanted the state of California to know that Fresno County is in support of the changes that we're requesting to Prop 47, and it's going to go out to the voters. We're very excited about that. And again, that is the same people, our district attorney, Lisa Smetcamp, our Sheriff John Zanoni, and many others have been leading the way on this. And so we wanted to mention that as well today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good work.
And so with that, I think the theme of today is how important it is for the public to be accountable. We have many liberties and freedoms, and if you choose to violate the law, especially when it comes to illegal dumping, it's going to cost you. So with that, I would like to open it up to any questions that the media may have. It's pretty complicated. I know that when we sat down to take a look at creating this particular ordinance, initially I said, let's just impound vehicles. And as we took a look at state law and what it requires to do that, there's a nuance there. You can impound vehicles as well as trailers, but only if you have someone who has been convicted of doing commercial dumping in the past. So it wasn't as easy as I thought. And so as we looked through all the nuances that exist in case law, we developed what we have in front of us today, where we've increased fines, but also too, repeat offenders are going to get stung with having their vehicle and equipment towed and impounded. So one of the things that was talked a little bit about today that Kyle, who was from County Counsel's office, shared with us is as we do come across garbage that is dumped on the side of the road, we will be looking for letters, receipts, anything that we're able to kind of tie back that garbage back to the really the generator, the person who is responsible for that garbage. And we will be following up with individuals who are generating this garbage that's ending up out on our streets and in our right of way.
But we needed an ordinance that was a little bit more specific, because the sheriff's department's been battling this for at least 20 years that I know of, because everybody can talk about garbage, but people like me and Supervisor Pacheco actually get garbage dumped on our property with all the other farmers. And it's a really bad deal right outside of town. Big cities and even the smaller towns and unincorporated communities. So I think we needed an actual ordinance that was a heck of a lot more specific. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes. I will.
I don't have that information in front of you. I do know that we have received in the past cases for illegal dumping from different agencies, but obviously with the increase in the priority for law enforcement, we expect to receive those cases and prosecute them. Well, I think that because it's a priority now and we've been working with law enforcement, I think we'll be seeing more of them coming in and hopefully being able to work with county council. I think the ordinance that allows for the new misdemeanor under the county ordinance needs to be emphasized. That actually is going to help deter crime also. Well, the money under the county ordinance or under the penal code for illegal dumping, which is Penal Code 374.3. The money ends up going, well, at least under the penal code section, it goes to the state of California and the court. It does not necessarily go back to Fresno County. And those fines range up to, I believe, $10,000 on a third illegal dumping conviction under the penal code.
Yes. So I think some of the examples that were given for some of the larger items that could be considered for a $3,000 fine, things like couches, mattresses, refrigerators, washing machines, dryers. So appliances, if someone's dumping appliances, they could be considered a commercial generator of waste and face a $3,000 fine. And it's not one $3,000 fine for that whole load. If they have multiple items that fit this large generator, a commercial category, let's say they dump 4 items, they could get hit with a $12,000 fine. Great question. So I think the bigger issue that illegal dumpers are going to face with these ordinances that we've passed today are larger fines, number one, and then also two, the potential of having their vehicle and trailers impounded. So even though that they could be prosecuted with a misdemeanor as well, those large fines are going to hurt. But not being without a vehicle for up to 30 days, and I don't know what the impound fees are, but you have to pay thousands of dollars to get your vehicle out of impound too. So all these different penalties add up to a pretty big sting for individuals that choose to illegal dump. That creates the deterrent. All right.
Oh, I got one.
Yes.
You know, another thing that news media could do is do a better job on telling the public, hey, if you've got, you know, dryers, couches, whatever, make sure you have, and you're going to pay somebody to pick them up. Make sure they're in a legitimate hauler to do it.
So that's a great point. One of the things I want to remind residents who live in the rural parts of the county, everyone receives, I believe it's a $40 voucher. You and your neighbors can come together and in some cases work with our supervisor offices. You can have a bin dropped off at your property where you can have waste dumped into that can be picked up. So you can combine these vouchers that are in place if you don't have the ability to drive to the landfill. Many cities right now offer up curbside pickup, in some cases twice a year, other cases, some cities are once a year. The challenge we find is a lot of this garbage that's ending up out in the rural areas aren't even from the rural areas. They're from the cities. Most of the population in the county resides within the 15 cities of Fresno County, with the city of Fresno being the largest. And so, again, for rural residents who don't have the ability to really drive, there is that $40 voucher that's available to them. And for residents who live within the city, you can pay extra to the city to make an extra trip out to your house if you have items that you want to have picked up there in front of your house there at curbside. So there are options. I think what we've seen in the past is a lot of people want to use the path of least resistance when it comes to things they want to get rid of. And there are some people who advertise as being haulers, and truly they're not following all the rules. So they'll pick up your items for a fee, and then those items get dumped somewhere in Fresno County, because a lot of those haulers don't want to drive to the landfill and don't want to pay those tipping fees either. Yes.
Yeah, I want to address that question too. I wasn't going to say much. But that's exactly the problem that Supervisor Minnis and I face in the rural portion of our counties. Half of the population of the county of Fresno lives in the city limits of Fresno. So you're absolutely right. It's a long distance out to Kerman where the landfill is. But the city residents don't want the landfill in their backyard, so they take it out to the rural community. The problem is when they get their new appliance and things, they don't want to spend the money. We realize gas is $5. So it's an interesting fact that District 1 and District 4, we have the highest incident of roadside dumping in the county because we're just outside the city limits. So the majority of the dumps, and we have a map, shows all the hot spots. The majority of the dumps are within 5 miles of the city limits of Fresno. And yet we're tasked to go out and get it. And even in a higher concentration is within 2 to 3 miles of the city limits of Fresno. So we have 43% of the dumps are residing in our 2 districts. Because as Supervisor Maxig said, it's a lot easier just to go outside the city limits, dump it off in the middle of the night and let somebody else worry about it. Well, instead of paying the $30 that you should to dispose of your own property or pay for it when you buy your new one, dump it off, and then it costs the county, our taxpayers, thousands of dollars to pick up what should have been a $30 expenditure. So that when you buy your new appliances, we strongly encourage the residents to pay the money and have your appliances, your mattresses disposed of in the proper way, because we will do it. But whenever the county does anything, it's always more costly than if the private individual would do it themselves. But it's all about personal responsibility, and that's what we're lacking. Whether it's the Prop 47 or the dumping, it's personal responsibility could go a long way to help save all of us a lot of money. But again, it's easier to dump it on us, and then we have to come clean up your mess. And that's not right to the rural residents of Fresno County either.
Also, for viewers, there is a non-emergency line that can be called if you see people that are illegal dumping. That's 600-3111. Any additional questions? Because I don't think so. I want to say thank you to the media for coming out today. We'll be available for about 2 or 3 minutes for some on-camera interviews if you want to interview any of us. Thank you.